We are live on the 5 a.m. Mester Scrum Show. It's Monday. There was a little survey out there. What's your favorite? Do you love Mondays? And I'm going to say, sure, why not? Why not love Mondays, right? Guess I never did here's my little loop thing. Let's play today. Played a little measuring value. So today we're going to talk about measuring value, metrics, stuff done versus value. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And it's a Monday and you make mistakes. So I didn't put the introduction loop, put the song in, but I didn't put the loop in. Kind of weird, or maybe I did. I don't know anymore. So we can tell my mind, mental Monday, right? There's a good one out there that does that. So we're going to start a new program or a series of stuff on Mondays. Let me know what you think about it, if you like it, and if it's a good idea, or if you want more of it. Mondays, I'm going to talk metrics. So it's going to be at triple M, right? It's going to be Monday measuring metric measurements or measure metrics. So Monday measure metrics. So we'll call it that or something like that, where we talk about different metrics in the Agile framework. And today I'm talking about value. I was listening to the Agile Mentors podcast over the weekend, and they were talking about metrics, and it made me think about a couple things. And it really inspired me to do the Monday thing because there's so many metrics out there. And I don't know of a job interview I did not go through that didn't ask me about metrics. How would you measure this? How would you measure that? It's amazing how the people that are in charge want to know how you would measure things. So there is something to it. I don't necessarily use it the way they do, but there is something that everyone wants to know. How do you measure it? How do you know we're doing good? Where are we going? So we're going to talk about Monday metric measurements, Monday metric measure or something on Monday. Anyway, welcome to the show. 5 a.m. Mester Scrum Show. I am Greg Mester, Scrum Master and Agile Coach, and we talk about Scrum and Agile in a very practical and tactical way. And we have Bubbles over here who's kind of going crazy. It's funny. She looks for this show. She looks for me to go do the show, and she finds me. And we do this so we can give value to the customer. We're going to talk about value today. And dudes who work crazy hours, get home to family and friends, and have a little fun, right? So they were talking about some things about the metrics and everything like that. And they were talking about, how do you measure performance? How do you measure getting stuff done? And my question is, well, maybe you really should measure value. And what I want to challenge in this first episode, I am not going to give you a way specifically, or I might, let's see how it goes, on how to measure. And by the way, before we get all into that, so I'm going to put the banner up because tomorrow night is our job show. So last week I'm putting the banner up for the USA jobs from last week, last Tuesday, and then Tuesday night we usually do the job show. Got a couple new programs, some ideas. I guess I got one in. I'll cover it at the end. But I will say, we did a mastermind this weekend. I had a blast. I enjoyed the mastermind discussion because actually in this one mastermind group, I'm actually part of the mastermind, not just being a neutral facilitator, but an active member in it because I got my own OKRs that we're trying to do and talk about measurement. So that's one of the things. One of the questions I asked and your key results, how we want to measure we're progressing to our OKR for personal growth. So again, that's another measurement thing. So those things will be up on Mondays. So let's get back to the measuring of value. I just wanted to share that with you because it was really awesome. I really recommend it, actually, if you want to join them. Then and it'll be coming out soon, the program. So send me a message if you're interested in joining our personal OKR. I'll talk about that more maybe tomorrow. When I really launch it. The idea of measuring value. What about it? I can tell you, we'll measure how much money the group makes or the software makes or the change makes. That is a possibility. I could tell you to do that, but every group is different. But what I want to say in this conversation is that you should spend time as a team figuring out how do you want to measure your value to the customer. And like, well, we don't do front end stuff. How do we measure? Whatever it is, you need to establish it. You need to establish that as an agreement between yourself, your managers, your product owners, your stakeholders, your business people. How do you measure delivering value? Maybe there's a couple feedback loops. What are they looking for value? How do you measure value? And part of me reflects on the Capital One layoffs. Part of me reflects on why I see teams go away. Part of me reflects on the people ask that question because they make budget decisions, right? And people think, oh, we don't want to address it. It will impact you sooner or later. Okay. I'm just flat out tell you, if you don't figure out how much value you establish and what work has value and prioritize the value, and there's different things, you're not going to be doing all the same thing all the time, but you do need to establish that. And that's where the Scrum Master and Agile coach and the team need to really take some time and figure that out. Just don't blow it off. I mean, I really be honest, I get pissed when these teams blow this off. I say, well, I can't protect you from getting fired, right? I'm going to be honest with you. The teams that blow off trying to figure out what value they establish and how do they measure their value and report out value return to the corporation, I can't protect you, right? Is it my job to protect you? In a way it is, in a way it's not. But when I have teams that say, we don't want to look at the value that we produce or how do we measure value, you have nothing to defend yourself when it does come to time when there's always ups and downs in business. Sometimes you're really good. No one really cares. There's other times you're really low. And it's going to happen every couple of years. Every year may happen every season. It depends. But when teams don't address it, it's really frustrating because I'm like, I've been doing this for 30 years. It will impact you. You need to understand your value. Someone needs, but you don't want someone else to talk about value, and then you have no say in what your value is because you need to be able to understand that. And I'm just going to give you I'm going to give you an example. Let's talk about bug fixing. Oh, there's no value in bugs, okay? Or there's no value in making good code. At some point during the sprint or as part of fixing those bugs, you really need to retrospect on what does it cost us to have bugs? What does it cost us to write bad code? What could be the potential impact? You have all that data. Jira gets all that data. You spend time. You can track it for a couple sprints. You don't have to track it forever. But you might say, well, how much time does it really take us? Do we have to build a whole team? Because that was another podcast that I commented with Vasco. And his podcast was talking about SRE. And it was the Siemens Health entity, which it'll be interesting. We'll talk about that later. But getting that feedback, do we spend the whole time just fixing bugs? Well, how much do those bugs cost? If we set a whole group just to fix bugs, how much lost revenue do we have investing in fixing bugs? It shouldn't have been there in the first place, right? Is that a tracking number? We fix those bugs. We lower those bugs. So we improve the operating cost. We could take that time and spend it on building new stuff versus maintaining things that were built poorly in the first place. Or maybe they really weren't that good, but no one wants to admit to it. But the other part is the value. I created something that allowed the sales department to handle more customers in less time. What is the potential value of that? What's that turnaround time? And you really need to establish when you deliver this, what's that? Oh, I turned a new application on. Well, if no one's using it, did you really produce any value? No, it didn't. I'm sorry. Just because you turned on an application, but no one in your organization used that application, you technically did not produce any value whatsoever. You spent a lot of time. So there is a little bit of that. How do we measure? How do we get people involved? How do we become our own salespeople for our dev teams? Or the devs teams become their own salespeople also? They need to take the responsibility because I've seen other groups, and I'll give you one. Somebody I know, they were doing work. I don't think the program manager or project manager was reporting out to the stakeholders. I think there was a gap. And in the end, they canceled it, right? And then everyone on the team's out of work, right? I think there was a missing element there. I don't think they were showing their value to the thing. I think they said, well, this is not producing any value. Those are the questions. Are you producing value on a regular basis? Can you afford not to produce any value for a year? I'm going to say no. If you come to me and say, well, we have 2 years to produce any value for anybody in the corporation, I'm like, you're smoking something and you're insane, because that doesn't work anymore. I'm sorry, it doesn't. So, I mean, this is the way it is. So Mondays is going to be metrics. So one of the things we talk about value, I think from an agile coaching perspective, I will give you metrics, how to measure this stuff as we go on Mondays. But you need to work with your team and establish what are the different areas of value that we produce, whether it be fixing bugs, preventing bugs. So those are operational stuff, answering questions, helping salespeople to make new things, allowing more time for the rest of the organization to do stuff, allowing more time for our own team to do more work, right? So there's a little bit of that too. So there's outside efficiencies, internal efficiencies, preventing stuff from what happened in the future to delay activities and things like that. So those are all kinds of things that you can do. Now I'm just going to say just one more thing. Just the OKR session that we did with the mastermind was awesome. We should do it. Send me a note at connect@5am Mester Scrum if you're interested in that. We also have the Slack channel where you can talk to other people on that. Again, send me a note. I'm going to come up with some more stuff. There's more stuff coming out, but I want to share that. And Mondays are going to be metric Mondays. Okay. Measure metric Mondays. I don't know. I don't know what the term's going to be, but if you like the idea, interested in the metrics, but I know one thing, every darn interview I go to, how do you measure this? How do you measure that? They're trying to find out how to do their job and use you to help them improve their process. But it's good to know the metrics, what tools you can use for your teams, as long as those tools aren't used for evil. And we'll go with that. All right, with that, have a great day. Enjoy your day, and we will see you tomorrow. Take care.